I cut my teeth here, down the street at the old Court Street VA, where the veterans taught me about trauma, and I immediately saw what a very complex issue is. When people talk about suicide, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Can you imagine, before somebody commits suicide, how much misery they must have had before that? So the 22 people are just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you. So I've been, for the last 50 years, been studying treatment for trauma. Because life is so miserable when you're traumatized, you blow up, you shut down, you can't take pleasure in things. And I actually did first studies on Prozac down here at MGH and Zoloft. Wasn't bad, it just didn't help people with PTSD. So then I looked around. We tried yoga, we tried theater groups, we tried neurofeedback, all kind of stuff. And then about 15 years ago, two guys, Michael Mithofer and Vic Doblin, asked me if I wanted to become the principal investigator on an MDMA, a psychedelic agent study for PTSD. I said, it'd be very interesting. We saw, but when I started, I said, we should only get people who were traumatized clearly at some point, who have not always been traumatized, who were not victims of child abuse, chronic abuses, because those are the most difficult people to treat. And I was overruled, and it turned out that the majority of the people in our studies had unrelenting childhood trauma forever. They were always shut down, always angry, always having unstable relationships. And then they took psychedelics and they saw a new world. It wasn't a fun experience at all, but they visited themselves, they got to feel what they were feeling, and they got to accept what they're feeling, and there was something happened in their brain that allowed them to say, yes, it happened, it was awful, but it's a long time ago. And something happened in the timekeeper of the brain to help people to say, it's not happening now. We had stunning success rates. I've written over 200 scientific research papers. 86% of our patients did stunningly well. Not everybody. As always, everybody says there's a cure for everything. No, there's always people for whom it doesn't work. But it is a stunning outcome. And so the study was done by 13 sites around the country. As a result of that, Australia and the Netherlands, on the basis of our study, legalized the use of psychedelics in careful medical settings. That's not happening here yet. And it is so important to open up new capacities. There are so many people who are traumatized, who cannot focus, who have a hard time learning. What we haven't talked about is the fentanyl epidemic. Why is there a fentanyl epidemic? Do people enjoy taking a substance that's going to kill them? No. People take a substance because they cannot stand the way they feel anymore, and it kills hundreds of thousands of people. If we do it under careful supervision, these people can be helped. Their minds can be changed. They can have a life for themselves, not only a life for themselves, but they will be able to raise their children and to pay attention to the people around them. They'll be much easier to live with. They won't be in agony all the time. So, as it is, of course, people know this stuff. I like to ask, how many of you have taken psychedelics? I imagine quite a few of you have, but they are illegal. And as long as they are illegal, you cannot really study them. I have a license, number one license, I could legally give heroin to people. And so I don't mess around with illegal substances. But, of course, people are desperate and they will go and find help, particularly after our scientific papers. One of our papers won the prize as one of the most important scientific breakthroughs of the year in overall science. But it is still illegal. And as long as these drugs stay illegal and people have no access to it, they have to go underground and do it in secret. And if people do it in secret, we have no way of monitoring, making sure that people get right care. And so it is very important to open the door very carefully, so we can really see what we're doing, that people who do it are well trained, are well taken care of, so we can bring it above ground. It's like abortion. I'm old enough to know a lot of people who got illegal abortions back then. Do you want to? Was it great? No, people had illegal abortions. Yeah, and it had all kinds of consequences. As long as you keep the stuff illegal, terrible things will happen. And the whole thing with Population 4 is that we want to bring it above ground and very carefully make it available for people who need it. And there are millions of people who need it, particularly in Massachusetts. And I sort of joined my previous speaker. You know, Boston, this hill, has been a remarkable part of American history. We invented anesthesia, indeed. We invented so much here. And this is the time for Boston once again to take the lead in legalizing these very powerful agents, which, by and large, if given carefully, have very few serious side effects. But if you mess with them and keep it underground, terrible things will happen. So I encourage you very strongly to vote for ballot question number 4. Thank you.